And section three is building trust, right? So um, you have to focus on trust. And this is because trust is why people make decisions to buy a home or to sell a home. They have to trust, they want to shake someone's hand. Now, this isn't always true, and it's becoming more and more common not to have that physical handshake, but you still have to work with somebody that you like and trust. And so you want to make sure that you understand some of the things that impact trust as a Filipino VA. How can you get the real estate agent to trust you? And how can they trust how can they trust their clients with you? Right. So, especially if they're going to have you do some customer service, like answering DMs, or they're going to have you send out forms, you can do a lot of emailing. You may even do some call follow-ups, depending on what kind of setup they have. You have to keep in mind of a couple of different things. And so there's three here that I'll talk about. Number one is embracing the cultural nuances, right? So this is one of the challenges I find in the Philippines. This is my perception. I've been here for going on 14 years. And so in the 14 years I've been doing business here in the Philippines, I've seen a shift. And it's not a great shift. It's a shift. It's just a reality. The quality of English is not as strong as it used to be. And so you find the more successful VAs that do things, they're either really good technically or they have really good communication skills, English communication skills. And so if you've got good English, that's important. If you don't have the best English, then I think that you want to look at the more technical side of being real estate VA, right? Video editing, list building, doing things that aren't customer facing. Because now, let's face it, the U.S. in the last couple of years, we've kind of at a roller coaster when it comes to people's opinions towards foreigners and immigrants, and it's not at the best point right now when it comes to people that have a strong accent. And that's just a reality, right? So I don't want to say the U.S. is a racist country because most Americans are not racist, but the ones that are loudest, the ones that scream the most, the minority, the very vocal minority, can be difficult. So embracing the cultural nuances comes across in your English, in the way that you communicate. Understanding business etiquette, understanding the American real estate industry, having some terminology down, these things will help you. And so if you've got good English, I think that's the right start. So you want to, if you don't, you can invest in language skills. You can constantly improve your English, looking for ways to especially use real estate terminology clearly. It doesn't, again, this is where you want to follow an influencer. You want to go out there and do a YouTube search and look up, how can I, as a Filipino VA, be a better real estate agent for American, or real estate agent VA? Ask ChatGPT, use different AI tools, whatever it takes to leverage technology, so that you can not only get up to speed and build that trust faster, but maintain that trust by having constant communication, right? Knowing how to use Slack, Zoom, email softwares that allow you to be in conversations, using, like you mentioned, Shay, using Facebook group and using group chats on Facebook. Basically, here, my point is that as important as knowing technical skills are, the soft skills are more important now more than ever. And one of the biggest reasons why it's challenging right now for Filipino virtual assistants to find really good quality clients in the US, especially in real estate, is because there's just a little bit more need for good communication. So that's my thoughts here. I don't know, Shay, if you want to add anything to any of these points or more points you want to add.
Yes, I would agree that you have to familiarize yourself with the American business etiquette and practices, because the American real estate market, it's diverse and complex, and the framework differs from every state, from one state to another. So the way that one state does real estate is different from the way the other state does real estate. And I also would like to add on to your idea of improving communication skills, not just orally, but also your written communication skills, because one of the common jobs that Filipinos take whenever they are hired by real estate agents or by realtors, they are hired to be cold callers. So that would demand a lot of like verbal communication skills. But there are also tasks that would require you to familiarize contracts, or send contracts, edit contracts, and send them to like different clientele. So Um, Aside from making sure that your like verbal communication is good, you also have to know like you also have to hone your written communication skills. So the strong command of English, both written and verbal, is very essential. So you have to practice clarity in communication, and you have to utilize tools such as Slack, um, email management. So you have to be familiar with all of those tools used to communicate with your client. Needless to say, you also need to like adapt to their time zone, which is like the very basic thing done when you're introduced to the job. So you have to know the preferred time zone of the client, because time is of the essence for real estate clients. I remember my client before, he would not want me to respond 5 minutes after he sent me the message. So I have this time frame that I need to respond within 1 to 5 minutes. And if not, then he will reach out to me on Facebook, he will message me on Messenger, he will call me just to get my attention. So you have to make sure that your notifications for Slack or any preferred communication tool is on, so that you don't miss any update or you don't miss any notification from your client. And you have to stay informed. You have to be up to date with the trend and with what's new in real estate. May it be in a form of like reading newspapers, or yes, getting yourself involved in Facebook groups, or any other like means to get information about real estate in the US.
Cool. That's great, Shay. And I want to add a couple things real quick. I kind of came back to this slide on geography, basically. So the US is a big country. And as Shay mentioned, there are a lot of different cultures, right? So people on the West Coast versus the East Coast versus the South versus the Midwest. So, I mean, just real quick, this is the West Coast, right? California. Uh, when they say the East Coast, they mean New York, right? The South, Texas and Florida, Midwest, Chicago. So those markets are all different. The cultures are different, right? So as a real estate VA, when you get your first client, if they're based in, say, Florida, right? If they're down here in Florida, um, I would suggest as much as possible to then try to find other clients in Florida and not look for clients all over the country, because it'll be easier to learn the culture and learn the geography and learn kind of like that mini version of the US by just focusing on one or two states in a certain region. So that's just one tip. The other thing that Shay, you mentioned, communication. I just feel like we can't emphasize that enough. And I'm going to say this because, again, I've been here a long time. I love the Philippines. I don't like being critical, but the there's a challenge we have right now in the country here in the Philippines when it comes to engaging in American style English. It's not as popular as it used to be. It's not as it's a combination of reasons why. I don't want to go into everything: social media, politics, influence of China, all these different things we could talk about on a different night. But the bottom line is that if you have good English, then this is probably one of the better areas for you to be in, because as Shay mentioned, you got to be able to write documents. You got to be able to do correspondence with customers. So again, if you don't have great English, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying focus on technical skills, right? So learn how to edit videos for walkthroughs of homes. Learn how to build really cool graphics for social media. And you can still find plenty of work as your English gets better and you get more accustomed to the culture. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll get to those at the end. And let's move on to the next one, Shay. We got number 4 coming up, and I believe you're going to introduce this one.
Yes. So our fourth segment will be about tips and best practices. So we will be discussing navigating challenges and solutions. So, Boss Dan, what are some common challenges virtual assistants face in real estate, and how can they navigate these?
So I think that, number one, you got to learn about auto posting and chatbot tools, right? So there are so many different things that are happening that we can't keep track of. I know real estate agents that have completely turned over all their copywriting to ChatGPT. and it's causing people that are good at copywriting, Filipino VAs that are very good at copywriting, to be challenged. I know that you can start having your Facebook posts. There's apps out there that will start building Facebook posts for you through AI. Facebook ads can be done by AI. So I don't feel like this is a threat to a Filipino VA if you're tech savvy and you can lean into learning these things, but it is a threat if you resist it. It is a reset if you're not kind of with rapid advancements in AI and automation technologies, you're going to find that you're going to fall behind. And especially in real estate, because real estate is a very cutthroat industry, and it's more cutthroat now than ever before. Because as I mentioned, with the introduction of companies that are buying up homes not to resell but to rent, there's more and more real estate agents that are fighting for a smaller and smaller section of the market. Also, real estate in the US, like everywhere in the world, is having a bit of a challenge finding workers to build new homes. There's obviously, I don't want to go into detail too much, but politics in the US is kind of divisive right now over how much money the government should spend on building homes. And there's a lot of problems with migration and immigration. So it's causing a lot of challenge. And so what people are doing is that they're getting rid of having to worry about people, and they're doing as much as possible using AI tools. It's really, really starting to become obvious in the real estate industry. Also, as you learn about these specialized skills, one of the biggest challenges in the US right now is if you're a Filipino virtual assistant, especially in real estate, and you don't speak Spanish, which I know most Filipinos don't speak Spanish, it's becoming a hindrance. In parts of the US, like California and Texas, half of the people that live in these states speak at least some, if not fluent Spanish. And you're seeing a lot of real estate agents. I just had one as a friend of mine who we've had a couple of different VAs with him that do some things, but he would kill. He would pay so much if he could find a VA, a good VA that spoke Spanish. So I don't know if you have Duolingo on your phone, but if you really want to give yourself a step up, learn some basic Spanish, right? That is worth its weight in gold as a Filipino virtual assistant. And then the other thing is that, I mentioned before, financial markets are tightening. In the US, right, we have a year until our next presidential election. And I think people are kind of in pause mode. Is Trump coming back, or is Biden going to get reelected? And I don't think any Americans really excited about either one. They're both old. They both have been there, done that. But we're kind of stuck with those choices, and everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens. Because if Trump becomes president again, then we might go this direction with things. And if Biden stays president, we'll go in this direction. And people are kind of waiting to see. And so there's that happening. So between the politics and the geography, the demographics, market shifts, labor shifts, there's just less money to burn right now. And real estate VAs are finding that their clients are more cost conscious and want a better return on investment. So the last tip I will tell you is that you have to really document your ROI. When a client says, I'm hiring you to post on Facebook groups about the houses that I have for sale, you want to report what you did every day. You want to have a weekend summary. You want to have a tracker that shows what you did. Because when the VA is asked by the client, what did you do this week? Oh, I posted all this stuff on social media. I did this. And the client's going to go, okay, great. And they look at their checkbook, their checking account, and they don't see any new money coming in. Then they're going to go, well, I'm paying a VA to do all this stuff, but I'm not making money. And their choice is going to be to let go of the VA. So it's really important that you track what you do to give them reasons to remember that you're an investment, and they'll get a return on it eventually. And they need to focus on that. And I think by doing good reporting, you'll help alleviate this challenge. In fact, there's less money in the economy to burn. So those are my tips. Shay, do you have any tips you want to add?
Yes, I really like that you mentioned about sending a report daily, because it will meet one challenge, which is building trust. So since we're Filipino VAs, we're remote workers, establishing trust is really difficult. It can be very difficult, especially because we tend to handle sensitive information or key business tasks when we're working for real estate companies or for realtors. So it's very important that we consistently deliver high quality work, and we report them, we document those tasks that we've accomplished, we meet deadlines, and we ensure confidentiality to build and maintain trust. So yes, I like that part where you said that reporting daily should be done, because that is like one way that we can show to our employer that we're doing something within the day. And I think some realtors or real estate clients, they would demand a time tracker, so as to check if you're really utilizing the hours that they're paying you for every day. So one of the challenges really when you're a remote worker, especially if you're from overseas, is like building trust with your client, and also balancing multiple tasks, like having to juggle multiple tasks and clients, which can lead to work overload. So it's important that we know how to prioritize tasks. We know how to use project management tools to be able to stay organized and communicate openly with clients about the workload and timelines. Because one of the things that realtor VAs or real estate VAs complain about is that they're always extending, or that they're always having overtime work because they just couldn't finish the tasks within the day. So yeah, we have to overcome that challenge by prioritizing tasks and using project management tools so as to stay organized.
Last
Right.
thing, two things real quick. So I will ask those of you that are still here, those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel, Dan Meyer, Virtual Staffing Expert. I drop new videos pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday. This is a series I did recently on lead generation. So I have all kinds of different videos for Filipino virtual assistants looking to work with American clients. And you can check that out. Just type in Dan Meyer, or Dan Mayer, as I am here in the Philippines, virtual staffing expert. You'll find me if you look at Dan Mayer, and I'm not the sword swallower. I don't swallow swords. And I'm not the baseball player, right? I am the virtual staffing expert. And last up, the last thing is our next steps, right? So if you want to be considered for a position with either one of our companies, please submit your updated resume to Dan Mayer at sonicva.com. I will also share that with Shay, and include any relevant links to your social media. If you want us to hire you to be a social media manager, then we need to see some of your social media that you've managed, or your own social media, something that proof in the pudding. If you want to be a video editor, you need to send us a link to some videos that you edited. Also, I'll ask you to submit a 1-minute video of who you are, why you want to be, and why you want to be one of our real estate VAs. Our real estate VAs or executive assistants, we need to make sure that you feel comfortable communicating. So you have to like turn on your cam, open your phone, open up your laptop, and just speak for a minute about who you are, what you do, and why you do it. If you submit that, along with any links you have for your social media and your resume to Dan Mayer at sonicva.com, Shay and I will review your resumes and your application and see if we can find any work for you. So we are both constantly looking for new VAs, as we constantly get new client requirements daily. So the last thing I'll say is that Filipino VAs have unparalleled dedication and adaptability, right? Adaptability is what makes the Philippines special. And it's a perfect place for U.S. real estate agents to turn to. So I just really think like this is, even though tough times, we talked about some of the headwinds, some of the challenges, it's still a great opportunity. And again, of all the VA jobs you can apply for, real estate VAs, when you find the right clients and you get into the right niche, it's usually one of the better paying, more long lasting, more satisfying types of VA work. So that's my talk for this evening. Shay, do you want to add anything else before we conclude?
Yes, just a key takeaway: as virtual assistants in the ever evolving real estate industry, we position ourselves as integral components of the real estate process. So our ability to effectively navigate challenges, manage diverse tasks, and provide reliable support can significantly influence the success of our clients. So stay adaptable, proactive, and committed to excellence so that we will continue to thrive and make indispensable contributions in this dynamic field. And I hope that you guys get your clients, may it be through us or through your own hard work.